cashier smirked, tossed the bread onto the counter and said, "Guys like you probably just come here to sniff the pastries." She didn't know the man standing in front of her was the CEO, and today he was here to test their hearts. The glass door gave a faint click as the man stepped inside. A cold wind slipped through his worn coat, whispering a warning in his ear. He walked slowly, his tall frame slightly hunched from the years, his quiet footsteps asking permission from each tile beneath him. No one looked at him, not a single welcoming glance. One employee adjusted their apron strap, another stole a glance then quickly turned away, and a little girl around 4 years old was gently pulled aside by her mother who whispered, "Don't look, move away." He didn't react. His deep brown eyes held no trace of anger, only stillness, like a lake before the wind stirs. The aroma of banana bread filled the air, rich and warm like memory. He paused at the pastry counter, choosing the piece at the edge of the tray. The crust slightly cracked, edges a bit burnt, clearly not the prettiest one, but it was the one that reminded him of his mother. Banana bread used to be her thing, baked in an old oven in the tiny kitchen of their rundown apartment in West Detroit. Back then, he collected cans, and she just hoped her son would grow up right, even if the world didn't think she counted. He stood in line, 4 people ahead. When it was his turn, he placed the bread on the counter gently, as if handing over a piece of memory to the world. The cashier looked up. Her stare was like a cold blade slicing into the pride of anyone who didn't fit the vibe of the place. Her red lips curled. "You're really buying that?" she sneered, tearing through the remaining decency in the room. "I figured you were just here for the smell." Jeremiah replied calmly, his voice deep and steady, but he didn't bow his head. "I'm buying it." She tapped on the screen without meeting his eyes, then spoke loud enough for the line to hear. $3 unless you've got EBT. I mean, I'm guessing you do, huh? A white woman behind him chuckled. The Asian man looked down at his feet. A child asked, "What's EBT, Mom?" and was quickly shushed. Jeremiah opened his wallet, not to prove anything, just to pay the exact amount. But she wasn't done. She wanted more. She wanted to crush his pride with every smug word. "Just a heads up," she sneered, eyeing him head to toe. "This is a premium convenience store, not a charity stop. We don't do free samples. No one's cleaning up the crumbs falling off your old jacket." He handed over the money, 3 wrinkled dollar bills. She took them like trash, punched in the register, and tossed the pastry box on the counter. "If I were the manager," she muttered, "I'd ban people like you from even walking in." No one said anything. No one intervened. The silence was sterile, like an operating room. Jeremiah picked up the box without looking at anyone, without replying. He turned and walked to the door, each step like treading on his own heart. But as the door shut behind him, it opened again. A man stepped in. It was him, but no longer the vagrant she had just scorned. Gray suit, white shirt, black tie, polished shoes. And that gaze, the gaze of someone once stepped on, now holding the fate of the whole system. The staff froze. The cashier stepped back half a pace, her lips stiff as if frozen in the middle of a Canadian winter. Jeremiah walked straight to the counter. No questions, no pause. "What's your name?" "Huh? Haley." "Haley," he repeated, each syllable like a hammer, not loud but heavy. "Do you know what you just represented?" I didn't know you. Who you were doesn't matter. What matters is how you behave. And today I saw none of what we stand for in you." She turned pale. The store manager rushed out from the back, blurting out, "Mr. Brooks, we didn't know. She's new." Jeremiah didn't turn to him. His eyes stayed fixed on Haley. "I'm the founder of this chain, and I don't let anyone bearing the Brooks name treat customers like garbage." He pulled a paper from his coat pocket, laying it on the counter. "Termination notice, effective immediately. You have 10 minutes to leave." Silence froze everything. But then, a single clap came from the corner of the store. Then another, and then the whole store joined in. Jeremiah didn't bow. He didn't thank them. He simply turned to the manager. "Gather all staff in 30 minutes. If anyone finds kindness difficult, they can leave now. From today on, we're cleaning house." He walked out, banana bread still in hand. Not because he was hungry, but because he needed to remember why he started it all. The makeshift meeting. Room was set up in the storage area behind the store. A long wooden table, a few plastic chairs, a flickering ceiling light. The space was tight, but no one dared leave. 8 employees sat in a row, some crossing their legs, others folding their arms, some staring down at the tiled floor as if it were about to give way. No one spoke. No one dared breathe too loudly. Jeremiah stood at the head of the table. No microphone was needed. His voice was deep enough to weigh the air down further. I didn't come here today to motivate. I came to clean house. He placed 2 folders on the table. One blue, one red. Simple, clear. The blue folder is for those who want to stay, but only if you believe in this. Every customer, regardless of skin color, shoes, accent, deserves respect. If you need to question that, you shouldn't sign. He looked around the room. Each glance from him was like a flashlight shining straight into the soul. The red one, he lifted it, is for anyone who feels this place no longer fits. Sign it, leave after today. You'll get 2 full weeks' pay and a letter confirming voluntary resignation. No judgment, no grudges, but don't come back. The first to speak was a young employee, Jamal. Short hair, a watch too big for his wrist, a cocky attitude. I don't discriminate or anything, but people who dress like they're homeless, it's just kind of weird. Hurts the store's image. Jeremiah didn't frown. He just tilted his head, slightly, but the tilt carried the weight of a blade brushing a neck. What is the image of this store, Jamal? LED lights? A clean pastry counter? Or is it the way staff talk to customers like they're doing them a favor? Jamal went silent. I'm asking seriously, Jeremiah continued. If your grandfather, wrinkled clothes, walking in to buy cough drops, got treated like trash, would you be okay with that? No, Jamal muttered. Good. Then which color do you want? Jamal swallowed hard, then reached for the blue folder. His hand was shaking, but at least it was honest. Across the table, Sheila, an African-American woman, single mother of 2, longtime shift lead, placed her hand on the table. She said nothing. She didn't need to. She pulled the blue folder toward herself and signed. I'm staying, she said quietly, because I know this place can be better. Jeremiah nodded, a rare nod, like a quiet thank you. 3 people left. No drama, no bitterness. Just softly, like leaves falling from a branch as seasons shift. One was a cashier previously warned for their attitude. One had been caught speaking rudely to an Asian customer, and the third was Haley's assistant. When the meeting ended, Jeremiah stepped out through the front door. The gray sky of Philadelphia still hung heavy like a question no one had answered. He stood there staring at the Brooks Corner logo reflected in the large window. The letter B was faded, grime left uncleaned. Tomorrow, he murmured. Tomorrow I'll clean that first. Because cleaning up a brand doesn't start with the name, it starts with the hands. That afternoon, Sheila was on shift. A homeless man walked in, coat torn, carrying an empty paper bag. All eyes followed, but Sheila stepped forward, offering a genuine smile. Have you eaten yet? The banana bread's still warm. You can try a piece for free. The man smiled, eyes misting over. Jeremiah, standing in the corner, quiet as a shadow, said nothing. He simply clenched his fist. Not in anger, but because hope was returning. The next morning, Brooks's Corner opened earlier than usual. A light rain fell. The air was damp and cold, and shoe prints smeared water across the floor. Sheila stood wiping the counter with an old cloth, her movements slow and deliberate, as if scrubbing each speck of dust from her own dignity. Jeremiah had arrived at 6:30. He didn't go into the meeting room, didn't stand on any platform. He simply stood by the self-serve coffee area, made himself a hot black coffee, and held a small notepad. Today, he wasn't playing the role of the boss. He was here to take notes. A customer walked in, wearing a long coat and carrying an umbrella, clearly an office worker. Sheila greeted him with a voice warmer than the wind chimes on the door. Good morning. Your usual coffee or a slice of banana bread today? The man laughed, surprised, then looked closer. You? Remember me? I try to remember everyone who's kind, Sheila said. handing him a dry napkin to wipe his hands. Jeremiah looked up and quietly marked a plus sign on his notepad. By mid-morning, he gathered the entire new team, now only 6 people, in the small break room in the back. The room no longer felt as cold as it did during the disciplinary meeting. The light was softer. On the table were some bread, fruit, and bottled water. A small setup, but enough to make anyone who entered feel respected. Jeremiah didn't stand. He sat among them at the end of the table. His voice was no longer commanding, but storytelling. 10 years ago, I opened the first Brooks Corner in an old shop next to a gas station in Detroit. Back then, I had nothing but $3,000, my mother's banana bread recipe, and one belief that if people were treated with kindness, they would return. He paused. His eyes lingered at a corner of the table, the spot where a former employee once sat. I thought I had passed that value down to every store, but I realized I had only built signs, not truly nurtured the spirit. The room was silent. Everyone looked at him, not as their boss, but as a man who had stumbled and was earnestly making it right. Starting today, we're introducing something new. Not to complicate things, but to remind us to live right. He pulled a folded A4 paper from his pocket and placed it in the center of the table. On it were just 3 short lines: new guiding principles, Brooks Corner. No one gets left behind at the checkout. No gaze shall ever look down on another. We are all here to serve, not to judge. Sheila looked at the paper and gave a quiet nod. Another staff member, Luis, a young immigrant, gently raised his hand. Mr. Brooks, if someone breaks these rules, do we have the right to speak up? I don't want things to go back to how they were. Jeremiah looked him straight in the eyes. His expression wasn't angry or encouraging. It was a promise. From today forward, every employee has the right to defend these values, whether the one at fault is a customer, a manager, or me. That afternoon, Jeremiah invited a group of former customers who had submitted anonymous complaints to come in for a free tasting. An elderly black woman wearing thick glasses arrived with her granddaughter. I wrote that letter, not thinking anyone would read it. I just wanted to say, back then, when I walked in here, I felt like I didn't belong in line. Jeremiah met her at the door and bowed. I'm sorry, and today, I'd like to offer you the slice of bread you should have had a long time ago. Her granddaughter looked around and whispered, "The bread smells better than last time, Grandma." That evening, the store closed earlier than usual. Jeremiah cleaned the logo on the front window. The B shone once more like a promise rekindled. Sheila stood beside him, holding a cup of hot tea. "We thought you were leaving after that day. A CEO coming back over a loaf of bread?" Jeremiah smiled, his eyes filled with an unusual calm. "I didn't come back for the bread. I came back for how people wrap it, in their looks and their attitudes. Because anyone can make bread, but building a place where even the poor feel worthy of smiling, not everyone has the patience for that." That night, for the first time in months, the lights in the staff room stayed on late, not for overtime, but because they stayed to share with one another why they started working here in the first place. Culture isn't taught on the first day. It begins the moment someone dares to change. Lunchtime at Brooks Corner was always busy, but now it wasn't just crowded, it was warm. Customers came and went and clearly noticed the difference, not just in how the pastries were neatly arranged or how the coffee prices were handwritten in gentle script, but in the way the people behind the counter greeted them like honored guests. Sheila Sanayurar, the single mother who used to be mocked by former staff for her slow southern drawl, now wore a badge that read Head of Service Culture, a new position Jeremiah had created himself. She didn't manage with a handbook, nor did she command with a checklist. She simply did one thing. She led by example. An elderly white customer entered, dressed in elegant clothes and wearing expensive perfume. Behind him was a black boy around 10 years old, holding a torn plastic bag and wearing worn-out slippers. The man walked straight to the cashier. The boy stood nearby, eyeing the pastries with his hands in his pockets. Luis, the young Mexican employee, was on shift at the counter that day. He walked over, didn't ask, "Do you have money?" and didn't look at the boy's shoes. He simply asked, "Which one do you like?" "You can try a piece of fresh banana bread. On the house." We charge with smiles today." The boy's eyes widened. The older man looked on, then quietly dropped $10 into the tip jar. At the beverage counter, a young female customer looked confused by the coffee menu. Another staff member, Sophie, of Asian descent, new to the job for just 2 weeks, stepped forward. "First time here, right? Let me make you one of our signature coffees. If it's not your taste, I'll drink it for you. No charge." The customer burst out laughing. "Wow, you're too sweet." From afar, Sheila watched and smiled softly. Jeremiah, standing behind a one-way glass in the management office, smiled too. No one had told them to do this. No standard operating procedure. No KP is, just heart. That night, Jeremiah called all employees from 3 nearby branches to gather at the main store. No PowerPoint, no data charts. He stood among them and placed a small mirror on a wooden stand. This is Brooks's Corner's newest tool. Everyone will look into it before their shift and ask themselves, would I want today's customers to be treated the way I'm about to treat them? No one said a word, but their eyes lit up, like someone had flicked a switch inside them. A few days later, a homeless man returned, not to beg, just stood outside looking in, hesitating. Jeremiah saw him. He stepped outside and handed the man an old Brooks uniform shirt, along with one question. "Want to try working? I don't have proper papers. We'll help, but the only thing you need to bring is respect. For yourself first." The man nodded. The back door opened, and for the first time in years, someone entered from the back. Not to hide, but to start over. A week passed. Total revenue didn't spike. No viral post, no TV feature. But one thing grew faster than anything else: trust. Customers came back. Old customers returned with their families. New ones arrived saying, "I heard they remember your name here." In the corner, Jeremiah hung an old photo. His mother standing in the kitchen, holding a tray of banana bread, her gaze firm but warm. Beneath it, handwritten in black ink, "Kindness won't make you rich faster, but it will remind you you're still human." That evening, Sheila got a message. She looked at her phone and broke into a radiant smile. "My kid got a full scholarship. I can't believe it." Louise stood nearby and playfully tapped her shoulder. "Then believe it. We don't have to live like all the good things only belong to other people anymore." Right then, Jeremiah stepped out of the office and walked over slowly. "What did I say?" He smiled. "When we do the right thing, others start to believe they deserve good things too." Winter came earlier than the year before. Snow began falling in the morning, dusting car roofs, fogging window panes, forming a soft white layer on the Brooks Corner sign. The sign was still the same old sign. No flashy LED lights, no bold slogans. Just 2 small lines beneath the shop name, recently added by Sheila the week before. "We don't just serve food, we nourish people." Today was a special day, not because of a VIP guest, not for any conference, but because it marked 10 years since Jeremiah opened the first shop. He didn't want a big celebration, just sent one single message in the system-wide group chat. "If you still believe in kindness, come by the original store, 5 p.m. today. Bring a smile and one true story." By 5:10, the shop was full. No formal invitations needed. Those who came included former employees, regulars, even people who had once been fired but came back, with gratitude instead of resentment. In the corner stood an open mic on a handmade wooden stand. No one stepped up at first, until Sheila walked out, adjusted her collar and said, "10 years ago, I was an unemployed single mother. No degree, no husband, just 2 kids and a borrowed apron. I applied here because I thought at least I'd be warm inside the building. But I stayed, because for the first time, someone remembered my name, looked me in the eye, not down on me." The room burst into applause. Luis came next. "I used to be that immigrant kid people called a risk, but now I'm the head of training for the entire Northeast. And I never went to college. I learned by watching how Mr. Brooks looks at people." A young woman stepped up, thin, young, wearing an old coat. "I'm just a customer. I came here on the worst day of my life. My boyfriend dumped me. I lost my job. I was broke. I only wanted to sit and ask for a glass of water. But the cashier, Sheila, offered me a slice of banana bread, said, "Eat it, not out of pity. I just think you need a little sugar and gentleness today." The girl choked up. I didn't kill myself that night, and I came back today to say thank you. Thank you for this place. The whole room stood and applauded. Jeremiah stood behind the counter, the same spot where it all began. His hand gently traced the edge of a banana bread box, his mother's recipe. He didn't give a speech, no spotlight, because the most important thing he could do was listen. At 6:30, a boy around 8 years old ran in, holding a wrinkled piece of paper. He handed it to Jeremiah. The handwriting was messy, clearly a child's note. "My mom and I walk past Brooks every day. She says this place used to be where my grandpa loved eating banana bread. I don't know who he was, but if he were still alive, I think he'd like you, because Mom said you were the first person who ever taught her. Poor people deserve to choose something nice too." Jeremiah looked at the note. His hand clenched, then slowly released. "Thank you," he whispered. "Tell your mom I still remember her, the woman who once cried over a pastry and a glance." Night fell. Everyone left. The door closed. Only Jeremiah and Sheila remained, standing in the middle of the store. "Aren't you tired?" Sheila asked. Jeremiah smiled. "Tired, but not empty. Because now I know, a slice of bread, a simple greeting, a fair glance can keep someone from falling. And if we do that long enough, we're not just saving them, we're saving ourselves." As he left, he looked back at the logo on the window. Snow had lightly covered one side. He didn't wipe it away, because he knew, even when snow falls, the light stays. You might not be a CEO. You might just be a cashier, a server, or a customer ducking into a cafe on a rainy day. But you always get to choose how you treat others. And sometimes just one kind greeting, just one non-judgmental glance, becomes the reason someone holds on to faith in a cold world. Jeremiah Brooks pretended to be poor to find the soul of his own brand. And you? If tomorrow, someone who looks different walks into your store, into your life, what kind of eyes will you see them with? If this story touches something real inside you, share it. Not to make it go viral, but so someone out there remembers. Kindness is never out of style.